Mr. President, I rise today to express my thanks to my Chief of Staff of the last 5 years, Todd Webster. It is a bittersweet day for me because my office says farewell to someone who has been a trusted, loyal, reliable, energetic, patient, faithful leader of the Coons team for my first 5 years here in Washington. Someone who's been warm and humorous, caring, and always ready with a funny story to tell, down to earth, someone who takes interest in whomever he's speaking to, who knows everyone seemingly here and is well-liked and well-respected. A true family man who helped plan a surprise birthday party for his father, Peter, who recently turned 75, whose delightful and beautiful wife, Lisa, was last fall named President and CEO of Physicians for Peace and joins him in their commitment to public service, and whose wonderful children, his daughter Sydney, son Peter, daughter Catherine, have sustained and supported him in his service, his 5 years with me in the Senate, and his years before that with other senators. Even their dog, Keely, the Irish Doodle, has been a part of the extended Webster family that has helped engage and entertain and support my office these last 5 years. When I first came to Washington under the most unlikely of circumstances in 2010, I was looking for someone who could help me navigate the culture and the folkways of this building, and there was no one better suited to that than Todd Webster. He'd worked on the campaigns of Senators Harkin and Byrd as the Deputy Communications Director of the Gore-Lieberman campaign and as Communications Director for Senator Patty Murray. After that, he was the Communications Director for Senator Tom Daschle. After those years of service in the Senate, he'd gone off on his own to form the WebStrong Group, and he was the owner of Webster Strategies and a regular commentator on MSNBC. And so when I had the chance to first meet him in 2010, I was encouraged that he was willing to offer his significant skill and talent to the challenge of helping me shape my team and decide on my trajectory here in the Senate. So this 9-year Senate veteran, a graduate of Bowdoin College and possessor of a master's degree from the GW Graduate School of Political Management, set off with me on what has been a fascinating and at times challenging trip. Todd's a great athlete, someone who is a dedicated golfer, an honorable player, as was commented by J.J. Singh, one of our great team members in the office. Quote, "You can tell a lot about a person by how they behave on the golf course. And Todd is a gentleman. He plays fast so as to not hold up others, but will go out of his way to look for your lost ball in the woods." If Todd ever left the office a few minutes early on some Fridays, he would announce to everyone that he was going to investigate some green space. And although rare, his trips, his outings on golf courses, I know, were a source of encouragement and relief. And on the softball field, he was also a great contributor. A member of my team commented that he was a valuable member of our team known as the Small Wonders, after Delaware's nickname, and was known for his ability to turn triples into doubles and for sacrificing his body at first base to get needed outs. He was also instrumental, JJ wrote, in the team's magical 2014 turnaround season and Cinderella run to the playoffs. On his management side, Todd would constantly walk through the office unannounced just to check in and see how folks were doing. Rather than making staff find him, he would proactively seek out staff. His door was always open, whether to chat about something work-related or vent or listen about something personal. He always had a funny story to tell and was willing to listen and offer meaningful advice. When Todd sensed that the afternoon was dragging on and our subterranean executive suite was in need of a pick-me-up, he would go on what we call in Delaware a Wawa run, picking up snacks and caffeinated beverages to keep everybody focused and working through the end of what are sometimes very long days here. I got one interesting comment from a constituent staffer who's worked for me and several other senators in her many long years at the Senate. She commented that on one visit to D.C., Todd cared enough to make sure our whole constituent relations team had lunch in the Senate dining room. And in her many years in the Senate, she'd never been there. She was astonished he took the time out of his busy day to have lunch with us and get to know them and to learn what they do on behalf of the people of Delaware every day. Todd also understood and connected with my commitment to my home state and enthusiastically made an annual trek to the Delaware State Fair and devoted himself to learning more about Delaware's all-important poultry business. I'll say that in equal parts, I did my best to learn more about sports, going to Caps events and Wizards events and on golf outings with Todd, and he joined me in going to memorable visits of the processing plants in which thousands of chickens made the eye-opening transition from being broilers to being dinner. In addition to his many attributes, I'd like to thank him for his strong constitution and his dedication to advancing the agricultural interests of my home state, which even included trying scrapple on one occasion. Mr. President, at a time when congressional budgets have been constantly under pressure, and many in America believe our political system is dysfunctional, Capitol Hill depends on dedicated, loyal, optimistic, and positive public servants like Todd. Not only for the kind of policy and political accomplishments that ultimately show up on a resume or a job description, but even more for the qualities and characteristics that make this place function. An unquestioningly positive attitude, a management style that makes everyone from intern to seasoned professional feel welcome and valued. A willingness to speak candidly about himself and the office, about our challenges and our prospects, a keen perspective on the absurdity of many aspects of the modern political process, and a relentless idealism that inspires those around him to keep believing and working harder. These are the hallmarks of Todd's time in my office over the past 5 years. In the 5 years I've had the joy of working with him, he's always been at my side, helping my office get up and running and teaching me the ways of this town and this institution. Walking around Capitol Hill like him was often like walking beside the mayor of the Senate. Every few steps, every few minutes, someone would stop to say hello, to catch up, to reconnect, or talk about what's next. Far too often, Mr. President, people leave the Hill having forgotten long ago why they ever went into public service in the first place, which Todd never has. Throughout his 9 years in the Senate, serving 3 different senators, he's remained cheerful, optimistic, tireless, and committed. His car is often the very first one in the Russell garage in the morning, and he's often been the last staffer to leave and to go home at the end of a long workday. Whether his willingness to call a staff member after the passing of a family member or just bounding into the office every morning with a smile saying, "Top of the morning to you, hello friends," and to everyone present, "Hello Meg, hello T, hello Chels," my office will simply not be the same without him, without his cheer, without his loyalty, without his hard work, without his energy, and without his optimism about what we can still do together here in this greatest institution in the American constitutional order. So with that, Mr. President, I'd like to offer my thanks and best wishes to my departing Chief of Staff, Todd Webster. Thank you.